Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dallas Cowboys sort of instant reaction show. I was too busy throwing up Sunday night after the 425 loss to the Packers that I had to wait till Monday morning to be able to talk about this. So, Cowboys lose 31-28 in Green Bay after having a 28-14 lead heading into the fourth quarter. The Dallas Cowboys were 195-0, including the playoffs, when leading by 14 points heading into the fourth quarter until Sunday. This was such an epic collapse. This is so near and dear to both of our hearts that I had to have Aidan pop in for a little bit. Usually this is just one of us. I do the Cowboys, Aidan does the Eagles, but I think Aidan has some very analytical analysis to give about this game. Aidan, welcome. Thank you for joining the Cowboys reaction show this week.
Hey, thanks for having me. Just a friend checking in on another friend, making sure everything's doing all right and going well. No other reason aside from that I'm here after such a brutal and painstaking Cowboys loss.
Now, let's back it up before we go forward here a little bit. Last week's show, and you can't really see if you're watching on YouTube, but I have the meme up behind us with the dog, the PTSD meme. With the Vietnam helicopters. That is what I felt heading into this game. If you listened to the podcast last week, if you watched it on YouTube, thank you very much. If you haven't, check it out. I said to you, Aidan, that I was terrified. I was terrified that Aaron Rodgers was going to throw for 3 touchdowns, which he did. Aaron Jones was going to run for 150 and a couple touchdowns, which he basically did. The team ran for 200 themselves. Aaron Jones had that ridiculous touchdown. So, I mean, at least I was prepared, right?
Well, as soon as I traded Aaron Jones in fantasy, I screwed you guys over. But yeah, I mean, you were prepared in one sense, but in another sense, it was just like, I don't know. It was the same old story Cowboys wise. And maybe it's the same old story Packers Cowboys rivalry wise. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you were on it. But for 3 quarters, it looked like this was different. But I think if you're a Cowboys fan listening to this, how many times have you said, I thought this was going to be different until it wasn't?
Well, it's funny that you say that too, that we thought it was going to be different, and it looked different in the first 3 quarters. But did it really? I feel like the score 28-14 was also very fooling, right? I mean, they go 3 and out their first 2 possessions. Dak throws a horrendous red zone interception in the end zone. Another bad interception where CeeDee Lamb either didn't flatten out or I don't care. You shouldn't have thrown that ball anyway. But you have an opportunity to go up at worst 10-0 on this team, and you throw that interception at the goal line that just killed them. And I feel like that is something that this team, things like that always happen.
Coming off of a turnover too, which you see playing on the screen right now, the strip of Aaron Rodgers, he had the bad thumb and all. And I don't know, it's just like, yeah, like it seems like there's always just like 1 or 2 mistakes that you can point to. And we'll get into the end of the game. But yeah, like you go back and think about that. It's like in the grand scheme of things, like how much that matters, even with it being early on in the game. And it's just like you can't let that happen, but it keeps happening all the time.
And what you're watching right now, the Christian Watson touchdown, I feel like was the most predictable thing of all time. After the Cowboys get a turnover in the red zone, 10-yard line, don't score, turn the ball over themselves, you knew Aaron Rodgers was going to take a shot and connect.
Oh, 100%. Also, that backflip. I wish I could do a backflip just like once in my life, just to do something as cool as scoring a touchdown like that and then doing a backflip. But back to the game.
Could there be anything worse for Anthony Brown there on that play than to get burned by a rookie and then trip over your own feet and cause yourself to get a concussion and then get knocked out the rest of the game?
That is the definition of insult to injury, or injury to insult, however you want to look at it.
I tweeted that he made Christian Watson look like Antonio Brown from the Bucs game last season.
Which has to be a red flag because this is a good Cowboys defense. This doesn't change. This game doesn't change that. But
I think it does change one thing. This is not the elite defense that some Cowboys fans are talking about, or a special defense that some Cowboys, just because they get pressure and they're getting a lot of sacks and they kept some teams under 20 points the first couple weeks, that means nothing. If you get run on consistently like this, and teams now, just like teams last year found the blueprint to beat the offense with the shell defense, teams are now finding the blueprint to beat your defense, and that's running to the left side. It can't be stopped.
And just to make this full birds versus boys circle, isn't that how the game went when we played earlier this season? We'll talk about, Cooper Rush played. Yeah, but when the Cowboys started to mount a comeback, what did the Eagles do? They went on their classic screw you drive.
Yep.
And went right down the field running the ball.
Yep.
And that's what they'll continue to do to the Cowboys if this keeps happening. And I don't know if there's a quick fix to that. I still think it's a really good defense. I think it's one of the best in the NFC. I think a lot of the defenses do have holes. I think a lot of the teams have holes, but it's just, to me, it's just the same red flags.
Well, and it's the same red flags that come with green flags. And hear me out here. It's this drive right here. Packers take the lead, 14-7 with 1 minute and 37 seconds left. The Cowboys go down the field with precision and tie the ball game. And then they go on to take. So they're capable of these things, but then I don't know what it is. Is it the play calling? Yesterday, yeah, it was, because you were up 14. You're against the 27th ranked rush defense in the league in a cold weather game, and you continue to throw the ball in the fourth quarter. You throw the ball 46 times when Pollard was going off 7 yards a clip. What are we doing?
Which is insane for so many reasons. And I think our last video that we did on YouTube was 20 minutes of why Odell Beckham to the Cowboys would make sense. And the overarching resolution to that is he makes sense because they need the help at wide receiver. So they turn around and throw it 46 times while Tony Pollard's getting 7 yards to carry. Also, the Tony Pollard thing, let's just get it out of the way. You and I have been saying it for 2 years. So let's take a bow. I think they're at the point, if they are smart, this can be a 60-40 split, kind of like what the Packers do with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, even though that doesn't make sense. But the 60 has to go to Pollard at this point, not Zeke. Correct? Yes. Like this is going.
And going forward, after the season, I think Zeke is done. They need to re-sign Pollard.
Yep.
And they need to run with Pollard and Davis. We saw what Davis can do, too. Now, every time he's gotten the ball.
Wow.
Right?
I thought it was incredible. Like, it was electric the way that they were running. And it almost kind of shows like the difference between them and Zeke. The fact that your backup running back is able to show that explosion, you know? So I mean, that almost is a positive takeaway where you're like, all right, well, now we know our formula for the rest of the year. Whether or not they act on that, we'll see.
We'll see. And I hope Davis continues to get some touches this season as well. So, but it's a combination of bad play calling, not being able to stop the run. Aaron Rodgers, again, too, had a perfect game plan. He wanted nothing to do with Trayvon Diggs. He had one target the entire game. Mm-hmm. He kept going after Anthony Brown. Then when Anthony Brown got hurt, Kelvin Joseph. Boss man fat, bust man fat. He is a clown. He stinks. He's good for 2 penalties a game. And if he's out there in coverage, getting burnt.
So we just talked about how that's a positive takeaway from the game. At least you have your formula in the run game going forward. The Cowboys, I've seen this. I saw this take online, and I thought this was a bit far-fetched that this could kill their chances at the playoffs. I think that's far-fetched and ridiculous. This is a team that beat the Giants with Cooper Rush. They have them again. They could easily surpass them as one of the wild card teams. I just think that's a bit absurd. The 49ers sit there at 5-4, but are you really like that high on them after last night? I think I'm lower on them. So I think the Cowboys are still a playoff team. But when it comes to that secondary situation, what do people do in the playoffs? They find your weaknesses and target them. Yep. Well, every playoff team is going to have multiple receiving options. So they're just going to throw it to the receiver who's not being covered by Trayvon Diggs. And that is a big red flag.
And that's what scares me about the Vikings game. They have Justin Jefferson, Thielen, TJ Hawkinson already hurt them when they played Detroit. Now they have to face him again in Minnesota.
That the Justin Jefferson thing, even if Trayvon Diggs is on, they're just going to force feed him. That we'll talk about on our regular show. That is insane. I would not want to play him right now.
I'm terrified.
It's crazy. And we finally have to respect the Vikings, which sucks. But I can see the Cowboys winning that game. That's the
I can too. I can see them winning that game, or I can see them, I tweeted earlier, staring 6-6 in the face very quickly because they play at Minnesota and then they have the Giants at home on Thanksgiving, which recent years have not been playing well on Thanksgiving at all.
Well, it's just like classic Cowboys, and we're going to get to our theme as soon as the highlights of the fourth quarter start. But I could easily see them losing this game in Green Bay. That sucks. And then they have a big momentum swinging win against the Vikings, you think, and then turn around on Thanksgiving and lose to the Giants. And it's just like this up and down emotional roller coaster, which is how things have been going game by game, quarter by quarter, series by series for this team. And I have my overarching theme once we get to these fourth quarter highlights, but I think you can kind of tell where this is going.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing too. I keep seeing on Twitter and, who do you blame? McCarthy not going for it on fourth down, Dak, the defense, the penalties, Kellen Moore's play calling, the run defense. It's all of it. It's literally all of it. Why do you have to pick one? Dak should have been better. Dak shouldn't have thrown those interceptions. You shouldn't have gone 3 and out twice to start the game. The defense should learn how to, stop the run and not let a rookie right there get 3 touchdowns on you. He had literally more yards and touchdowns in one game than he had the entire season leading up to this point.
Yeah, that was pretty wild.
Maybe also
your Devontae Adams performance.
Maybe, stop the Packers on 4th and 7. If you stop them on 4th and 7 towards the end of the game, you win the game. Maybe when you're going for it on 4th and 3, dial up your best 2-point play, conversion play, not just some random play that never had a chance from the start. It's just a combination of fuck-ups by everybody, top down.
Let's talk about it, because as the highlights go, it is the fourth quarter. It is 28-21. We can kind of see how this is going. That's a great run by Aaron Jones, by the way. That's just annoying to me. Like, why? Like, it's so frustrating. So annoying. Okay. We've done this show 100 times.
136 times, to be exact, I think.
Yes. And we have talked about the same issues for the Cowboys for the entirety of this podcast's existence.
Mm-hmm.
It is tiring. And I'm not even a fan. But I can say this because I root for the Sixers. And I have watched them lose the same game late in games where they lack execution. They can't do inbounds plays. They're always bottom half of the league in hustle stats. They just completely fall apart when attention to detail matters the most. The Cowboys are the NFL version of that.
Mm-hmm.
The attention to detail is not there.
Nope.
So when you say all of these things, you mentioned it was like, could Dak be better? Yes. Does the run defense need to be better? Yes. Is it the penalties? Is it Mike McCarthy? Is it Kellen Moore? Everybody contributes 1 to 2 mental errors down the line and then forms just enough to lose big games where you have the talent to pull this out. Clearly, they were up double digits in the fourth quarter, and then it falls apart.
Yep.
And it always does. Late in games, late game execution, they are bad at attention to detail. And it is the worst thing you can be in a league where the talent margin, aside from a few teams like maybe the Texans, isn't that big.
Yep. And then, speaking of attention to detail, you win the coin toss in overtime, which we're watching here.
Mm-hmm.
You're marching right down the field. You're going to go win this game.
Yep.
Penalty. 4th down conversion instead of a 53-yard field goal. Not even close. And right at that moment, it's game over.
Yep. I 100% agree. You knew, like, it seemed like every overtime game goes like that. If you don't score in that opening possession, it's over. Like, the team's just going to go down and score.
Like, look at these runs by Pollard. Pollard for 7. Pollard for 7. And then the Davis one. It's just like even that to Pollard. Quick. The play. I feel like the play calling on this drive was actually their best all game. It was just the penalties, and then I don't know, a rookie wide receiver lining 7 yards off sides.
Perfect. Okay. Perfect example. Perfect. Also, 3rd and 4. Just another example. If you knew you were going for it right there, why are you throwing the ball? And this is what bothers me the most.
Pollard's been getting 7 yards a clip.
Exactly. So that play right there, everyone's complaining that CeeDee Lamb, it was a bang play.
Stop.
I don't know if it was pass interference or not. To the live eye, I didn't really think so.
I didn't think it was.
But at the same time, it's like to get to that point where there was a pass interference that could have gone your way and didn't. You had to have a rookie receiver line up offsides multiple times. You had to lose Christian Watson in the coverage in the fourth quarter to give up another touchdown.
A hold on the Davis big run.
Yep. You had to not run the ball on third down in a situation where you were going to, it was a 4-down situation. They do everything wrong. And then at the end say, well, that screwed us. Like, no, you screwed yourself, and you always do.
Yep. When you get like, it's like a math, right? A math conversion. It's not like you just get the answer at the end and that was it. It's A plus B divided by C minus H square this. That's how everything together adds up to the end of the game, which is a loss.
Correct.
Because
that's about the time I started failing math class too. So I can't.
As soon as letters came in, I was like, okay, we're done.
They put letters and numbers together, and I was done for.
It's a combination, like I said, and that's what I want to stop. These people that are out here talking about, oh, it's pass interference. Okay, well, don't rest your entire game on hoping you get that pass interference call, because we've seen it time and time again in the NFL. Bad calls are going to happen or not happen. So just like you said, attention to detail.
Like, yeah, all right. Like, even if the refs made a mistake, you made 10 mistakes to that one mistake.
Yes.
Can we talk about the Tony Pollard quote? Because I think this just sums up our whole overarching theme of what's wrong. So Tony Pollard on the lack of pass interference call in the 3rd and 3 in overtime. Playing for the Cowboys, those type of calls we normally don't get on our side, so it's expected. We just have to be better. Shut the fuck up.
Yep.
Are you kidding me? Like, for so many reasons. One, as an Eagles fan, just thinking about that game where there was no clear recovery of the fumble for the Eagles, even though we had 9 guys on the ball, the Dallas Goedert offensive pass interference, just to insinuate that you don't get called because you're a member of the Cowboys is insane. But this is like the overarching trend, and it is like fire Mike McCarthy central when you hear it. It's like your takeaway from that after the committing penalties, Dak getting intercepted twice, multiple coverage breakdowns is, oh, the ref screwed us over. We just have to be better. No.
And that is from top down. That is from Mike McCarthy, because he preaches that. Oh, no. Why aren't you talking? I don't want to hear, well, it should have been pass interference. I'm not happy with the play calling, the penalties. Every week it's the same thing when they have big time penalties. So, we got to look at the film. No, just. And speaking of shut the fuck up, these guys on Twitter, these players right now, it's like all of them, like, okay, Trayvon Diggs, and he just tweeted last night after the game, unacceptable. We fucking know. Shut the fuck up, okay? Like, why do you have to put that out there? And then guys like who I love, J-Ron Curse, out there being like, so, and Malik Hooker, some of y'all know nothing about football and this and that. But okay, just get back to work. Like, we don't need to see you tweeting time to get back to work. Shut the fuck up.
Just do it.
Do the work.
Yeah. It's just crazy to me, just like talking. And I know Mike McCarthy talked about it in the press conference. It's like crazy to me that like Jalen Tolbert lines up pretty much as like an edge rusher on the line as a wide receiver. And then at the end, they're like, oh, so frustrating about those calls that didn't go our way. It's like, well, there were a lot of calls that went against you and they should have, it's like, if you were just a little bit more crisp on your side, you don't have to worry about these things. Don't put it in the referee's hands. It's the same. You and I are baseball fans. Like when somebody strikes out and they it's a backwards K because they watch the ball and it's like right on the edge of the strike zone. It's like, well,
it's on you.
Yeah, there's 2 strikes. Like you're supposed to swing. It's like, don't leave it up to the umpire. Same here. Like, don't leave it up to the officials. You're up 28-14. That call happened in overtime. There shouldn't have been an overtime.
And since there was an overtime, why is he on the field? He hasn't done anything for you all year except nothing. And you put him on the field in that crucial situation. And I don't want to take shots at South Alabama, but I mean, I don't think you're getting big time degrees out there if you can't, like, speaking of math, like, and geometry, like, do we know what a straight line is? Just look. Like, just like, oh, that's, yep.
Also,
okay.
You play at the one position where you're allowed to check with the official and be like, hey, am I good, man? And like, be like, no, move back.
There's a picture of him looking at the official. If the official did say you're good, and then it was called down, then that's on the official. I will say that.
But in his defense, too, it did look like he started to move back, but while he was starting to move back, they had already run the play. Yep. So he caught it, but he caught it too late. South Alabama's the video of 50 Cent when he's like, when he gets dissed by Floyd Mayweather, he's like, yes. Why is this? What did I do? T.I. slept with your baby mama. What did I do? South Alabama's like, the Cowboys lose. What did I do?
What did I do? Why am I getting? But yeah, it's like you said, there shouldn't have been an overtime. 28-14. It should have actually been 31-14 if you put in at the very least with the field goal instead of the and the last question I'm going to ask for you, do you agree with in the overtime going for it there on 4th down, or would you have tried the 53-yard field goal?
Yeah, so I do agree with going for it. I wouldn't have any problem with that. It's a 53-yard field goal, and if they get the ball back, they can go right down the field and win. You should be playing to win, especially in this advanced analytical age where offense is at an all-time high. Like, put the pressure on them to go down and score. Like, if you score a touchdown, that game's over. You don't even have to put your defense on the field. So, like, that to me is worth the risk, especially on something like 4th and 3. It wasn't like it was 4th and 13.
And I agree with you. And I think they were going for it the entire time. I think what we said before, what we don't agree with is the play call before.
The play with the pass interference is what bothers me. It's like you're successfully running the ball. You know it's 4-down territory, and you throw it twice. It's like that. The math isn't mathing. The math is not mathing with this team.
No, it's not. A plus B divided by H gives you a big fat L.
Yeah. Yes. My last point, the Odell discussion that we had. I think if you're his agent watching that game, you're like, this is Christmas. Game early. Michael Gallup got banged up. I know he came back into the game. Jalen Tolbert couldn't even line up correctly. They're really just not getting any production out of anybody who's not CeeDee Lamb. They lose. The pressure's on to win. They need another weapon. It's clear. We gotta do a deep dive on Spot Track this week, but if I'm the Dolphins, why aren't you getting Odell? Can you
no one's talking about them. They easily could. They could just be the quiet team that's not saying anything.
Yeah. And if I'm the Cowboys, I'm like, that's a disaster if we can't get him. Because then there's no solution to that problem.
There's not.
So yeah, I think if you're Odell's agent, you're like, that went well.
Well, everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for letting us get the frustration. And I think I stayed pretty tame. I got a little cursing a little bit, got a little angry for a second, but contained myself.
Small potato on this show.
You know why? I've seen this. I've seen it before, right? I'm just so used to it. I tweeted it out last night too. Albert Einstein said the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So I don't expect a different result anymore. That's why I said that the meme behind us right now, that is what I saw all week. It was just too perfect that the Packers had lost 5 in a row. Mike McCarthy's big game. And that's again, also to Fox, like literally you can't put that game on like FS1 for 5 minutes or so, because you've been touting this game for 3 weeks. Every damn World Series game, it was just like a Citizens for Sanity commercial, and then the Packers Cowboys game, and then Citizens for Sanity, and then the Packers Cowboys game commercials. And then the game doesn't even start till halfway through the first quarter because the Packers, or before the Vikings Bills, are in overtime. It's just perfect.
Both of those advertisements seem to waste their money, huh?
It was just too perfect. But Cowboys lose. Like I said, we've seen it before. Eagles play tonight against the Commanders. So Aidan will be doing his reaction show either late tonight or early tomorrow. And then we are back with another special guest. Show drops Thursday as we look on to week 11, which is just unbelievable in my head that it's already going to be week 11.
Sad. Cowboys win by 9 next week, but it's a little jarring. We're that far into the season. Getting cold.
It's
going to be a cold weather game tonight. I'm not used to that.
Well, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Tell your friends, tell your family to subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts. That's where we are. Apple, Google, Spotify, anywhere. Right here. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. Comment, like. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you want us to change. Follow us on TikTok, Birds vs. Boys Pod, on Twitter at the same name. We drop episodes every Thursday. Reaction shows after each game. Cowboys stink.